So Chris, thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Today's going to be a really cool topic because we're talking about SEO. Now, SEO, as you know, is a very broad word. It means a lot of different things to a lot of people, but really when you boil it down, it's obvious that getting on the first page of Google and any other search engine is really important. But what are the challenges, Chris? Like, what do you typically see with that right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that one of the things that you have here is that even if you could do this in a way that is perfectly in line with Google's best practices and things like that, what you're running into is the fact that Google literally is changing the algorithms. Like, they used to announce really big changes. Now they happen literally every day. We have a piece of software called Mozcast. It's literally like a weather report, and it finds out literally how often are they changing the dials with SEO. Because, if you knew that it was a level ground and you could trust where, what you're doing today is going to be valuable tomorrow, you know what I mean? Like you could start to chart your course. But when you realize that it's a moving target, it's just really, I don't know how to describe it, but you need to invest in SEO, but you also got to be very conscious that this is a wild beast that can get out of control and that there's no guarantees. I think that's one of the biggest challenges that you have is just, you need to know that you and I don't own Google. You know what I mean? It's like, it's their world. We're just living in it.
Definitely. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's going to be really important. And I think that a lot of companies that get into the SEO game just kind of for the first time, in other words, they hire an SEO agency or they try to dabble in it themselves. They think it's like a light switch that you can just turn on, and it's really not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. You were talking about how, like, a lot of our customers, they have marketing departments. So unless they necessarily have someone who's dedicated to the task of understanding, like, the algorithm changes and then understanding how that changes from a day-to-day basis, it's really difficult to stay on top of it.
Yep. And I think one of the things, I mean, you and I were just talking about, Todd has a sales call with a client, and, they feel like they're doing fairly well in SEO. Their search traffic is, it's okay. Could obviously be a whole lot better, but like kind of uncover what we were just talking about in relation to branded and unbranded search. Because I think, I think that someone could say, hey, you know what, we're doing really well. And it's like, but are you? Do you know your numbers?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. That's one of the reports that we'll run, and it will show the difference between branded and not branded search. So just for any of those who don't know out there, branded search basically implies that your brand name or your company name is actually in the keyword, and non-branded is it would not be. So if you were searching for, say, like a webcam, and then you search Logitech, Logitech would be the brand, and then that would be one of their keywords, and they might say like 1080p or HD or something like that. But if you just search like high def webcam, that's the non-branded. And that, for the most part is difficult because people look at their keywords and they flood them with their own branded content, not realizing that there's a whole universe out there of keywords that they're not really hitting on. And then what we do is we have the software that we can run that for our customers, point that out, and then get them to expand their ability to find these people and attract them to their website.
Yeah, because I mean, I think when you think about it, it's like Mr. Client says, well, we actually have really high search volume. And I'm like, well, if they're mentioning your name, you know what I mean? If they're mentioning your name, they already know you exist.
Right.
So the chances of you getting that sale are very good anyway.
Anyway,
so your search didn't really help too much. I mean, maybe if you have multiple locations or something.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if they know your brand, you're 80%
already found you
there anyway. So, I think good search should be measured on, these are the people that found you that didn't even know you existed.
Yeah.
They had a problem and they needed a solution, and your solution just happened to fit their query.
Yep.
If you don't look at SEO that way, I'm going to be the first one to say your brand is very important.
Right.
But in the search game, you need to know your numbers well enough to say, hey, when I take my name out,
what's left?
Does my visibility just plummet?
Totally. Yep. Yeah. So like we'll run reports for people, and a lot of times we'll see that mix like 90-10, so 90% branded, 10% non-branded. And for the most part, it looks good or it might sound good, but really what we help clients figure out is like, you're missing a lot of opportunities, so we like that percentage to be a little more closer to the midpoint, like maybe a 50-50 or like a 60-40. And once again, I mean, anybody that's in the search business knows that it's a long game. you're not going to basically, like you said before, you can't just flip a switch and then all of a sudden, oh, my search is fantastic tomorrow. It's one of those things that, not only you have to be in for the long haul, but then you also have to do like a lot of testing, because there might be some words that, you literally cannot rank for because it's just so difficult or so cost prohibitive. And that's why you have to really become an expert and a pro at really understanding, how to attack that.